Okay.
Good morning, and welcome to the court's first virtual swearing-in ceremony. Please keep your audio muted throughout the ceremony. If you wish to follow the speaker, you may want to switch your view to speaker view. Please note that because we are broadcasting, there will be pauses to allow for lag time between the live event and the broadcast. Mr. Julio Castillo, Clerk of the Court of Appeals, will offer opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Good morning and congratulations to all of you. Also, you are the first group of individuals who will be sworn in by virtual remote control. So thank you and congratulations. I want to say something again. I will be administering the oath, and when I administer the oath, I will use the word swear. If you object to that for whatever reason, you can use the word affirm in its place. In addition to that, when I administer the oath, you have the option of either standing up or sitting down. However, you have to raise your right hand. Again, congratulations to all of you, and also congratulations on being the first group of attorneys that are going to be sworn in remotely. So thank you, welcome, and I'll turn it over now to Mr. Dade.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. The courtroom clerk will now open the courtroom.
All persons having business before the Honorable Chief Judge, now presiding over the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, draw near and give your attention. God save this United States in this honorable court. This honorable court is now in session. Please come to order.
Mr.
Good
Dixon.
morning.
Morning. Chief Judge Anna Blackburn Rigsby will offer introductory remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, first ever remote virtual swearing-in ceremony. Normally, we would be in our beautiful historic courthouse administering the oath of office to each of you with your family members and friends watching proudly as you take the oath. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic and health concerns and public safety, we are opting to do the ceremony in this way, and we hope it actually allows more of your family members and friends to be a part of this wonderful ceremony. I wanted to take a few minutes to say that my colleagues and I on this court are so very proud of each and every one of you for fulfilling and satisfying all of the requirements to come to this important point in your legal career to be admitted to the District of Columbia Bar. It is one of the largest bars in our country. Only California and New York have larger numbers. We are fortunate to have attorneys admitted to our bar all across the country and even around the world. I wanted to say to your family and friends, thank you for supporting you. Today, the motion to admit you to office here and to the practice of law before our court will be made by our attorney and special assistant to the clerk of the court, Ms. Omolola Oluyemi. At this time, I will ask Ms. Oluyemi to read the motion. Ms. Oluyemi, I think you're still muted.
Good morning, Chief Judge. Thank you. On behalf of the Committee on Admissions of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, I, Omolola Oluyemi Esquire, Special Assistant to the Clerk of the Court, move the admission to the bar of this court the applicants whose names appear on the attached list. They have satisfied the requirements for admission to the bar of this court. On behalf of the Committee on Admissions, I certify to the court that these applicants possess the necessary qualifications for admission to the bar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oluyemi. I have before me an electronic version of the motion, which lists each and every name of those who you just moved for admission to practice law before this court. I want to assure all of the admittees that although it looks on this virtual platform like we are giving this motion only a cursory review, that we have thoroughly vetted the requirements for admission. In addition to the passage of this bar exam or another bar that qualified you to waive in, and the passage and careful scrutiny of your character and fitness evaluations, you have all satisfied the requirements of admission before this bar, which we are very proud of. And before the oath is administered, I wanted to let you know I will welcome the opportunity once you've all taken the oath of office to share a few words of welcome and to tell you a little more about our court and the practice of law here in the District of Columbia. So thank you. At this time, I believe Mr. Deshawn will be coming to you, and then the oath of office will be administered shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Ms. Oluyemi. Before the oath is administered, we'll take a moment to scroll through the pages of today's participants for your friends and families to view. Thank you to technical support. I give the floor back to Chief Judge Blackburn Rigsby. Chief, you're still on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Deshawn. It's wonderful to see the faces of all of you who are being admitted to the bar today. I believe at this time, the oath is administered by the clerk of our court, Mr. Julio Castillo. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. At this time, if we were in the courthouse, I would ask you to stand and raise your right hand. But since we're doing this virtual, remotely, you have the option of either standing, as I mentioned earlier, but please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
Jared Carmen.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that as a member of the bar of this court,
that as a member of the bar of this court,
I will demean myself uprightly and according to law.
I will demean
myself
uprightly
and according to the law,
And that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
that
I will
For the
Constitution of the United
States of America.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. The Chief Judge will now give some judicial remarks.
Thank you. And congratulations to each and every one of you. I believe that we may be panning one more time before the ceremony ends so that your family members and friends can see the wonderful view that I'm able to see in gallery form of the wonderful faces of our newest lawyers who are admitted to practice before this court. Usually we're in the courtroom on solemn occasions to hear the important cases that come before us, but I welcome each and every time the opportunity to speak to new admittees to the bar of the District of Columbia. You may have heard a little bit about the history of our District of Columbia court system. For many, even many attorneys, it's confusing how our courts are structured, particularly since our local courts are literally right next door to our federal courts here in the District of Columbia. Our District of Columbia is our court system, the DC Court of Appeals, and our trial court, the DC Superior Court, are our local or state court system, the equivalent of a state court system. As you know, the District of Columbia is a special jurisdiction. Our federal courts are our sister courts, but our jurisdiction is very broad. Our trial court hears all cases, all matters, criminal, civil, family, probate, tax. We also hear those appeals that come before this court, including, in addition to all those cases, administrative agency appeals, and from time to time, unfortunately, bar disciplinary matters. So our court jurisdiction is very broad. We are fortunate to have wonderful practitioners who appear before this court and to have a bar that we think is the best in the country. One of the largest, as I stated earlier, and one that shares a history and commitment to pro bono service, in addition to whatever area you choose to practice in. So in that spirit, I welcome each of you, and I have to say that you all look fantastic. I know it's hard sometimes, especially in this Zoom virtual environment, but I think it's so important to remember that when you have appearances before the court or before your clients, to appear in a professional manner that is commensurate with the achievement of being an attorney who is licensed to practice before this bar. One of the great things about our legal profession is that there are so many wonderful ways to utilize your legal training and your law degree. And I think sometimes when you're surrounded by other law students, you're surrounded by other attorneys, it can be easy to forget how much you've learned and the importance of the skills and the legal training that you possess, particularly to those in our community who need your skills and talent the most. And one of the things I want to stress in my remarks today is the importance of remembering how valuable your legal skills are and just how many people are in need of them. Whether you decide to go into private practice at a large or small firm or solo practice, do a judicial clerkship, become a judge, work in the nonprofit sector, or work for one of the local, federal, or state government agencies, there are so many ways to utilize your legal skills and talents. I consider myself very fortunate to have had a multifaceted career, beginning in a large law firm before I then moved to practice with our District of Columbia Attorney General's office, and then ultimately became a magistrate judge on our Superior Court and then a trial judge on our Superior Court before joining our DC Court of Appeals about 15 years ago. I serve now as the Chief Judge of this court for 4 years, and it is my honor and pleasure to serve with our wonderful colleagues and to work with our wonderfully professional court managers and dedicated court staff. Whatever your choice as a member of the bar, you bear a very important responsibility because you hold the concerns, problems, questions, and issues of your clients dearly. They entrust them to you. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about, whether your client is a multi-billion-dollar corporation or an indigent criminal defendant or a mother or working family that need your assistance. Each case is important, and it is the most important case for the party who brings it and entrusts it to you as their lawyers. During my remarks today, I just want to talk about 3 key things. The law, I believe, is a profession and not just a job. Second, your professional reputation is critically important to upholding the rule of law and to promoting public trust and confidence in the legal profession and in our courts. And finally, I want to stress as my final point, the importance of your legal training and providing pro bono service to those who need but cannot afford it. To my first point about the law and your legal career being a profession and not just a job, I like to talk a little bit from a historical perspective that back in the Middle Ages, there were only three professions. The ministry, which administered to the souls of the people, medicine to their physical needs, and the law to all of their critical needs for life, liberty, and property. Given that these professions were held in high esteem because of the critical role they play in the lives of people, there were requirements for high ethical standards, for a code of conduct. And that is very important. And you will see that it is invaluable. When we say you're an officer of the court, that means that we, as judges and courts, trust you and trust your word. It means something because of the high ethical standards that we have held you to. Honor and respect were enjoyed by members of these various professions and continue to be enjoyed today. But I always like to remind new and old lawyers and even new and old judges, don't let it go to your head that our profession is a profession of service to others above all else. And I want to encourage you to remember that at each and every stage of your career. Also, while being a zealous advocate, to my second point, and zealously representing the needs of your client before the courts and other tribunals, going the extra mile to make sure that their cases are heard and heard in the best light, always remember that you are still an officer of the court, a member of the legal profession, and we expect that you comport yourself with civility, dignity, and respect, even for your opposing counsel. My second point on guarding your reputation is one that I always like to stress, particularly in this digital age. It's very, very easy and very tempting to fire off a fiery email or a text message that reflects your thought of the moment, your feeling of the moment. But as lawyers, our words are critically important, and how we use those words, whether they are spoken word, whether they are written word, whether they are in electronic format, matters. And that follows you throughout your career. I always like to remind my law clerks, young lawyers, students, that it takes a lifetime to build your professional reputation, but only a moment and a careless mistake, a moment where you demonstrate a lack of candor to the court, a lack of civility to a colleague or client, a lack of truth and honesty. It only takes that moment to destroy that professional reputation. And when the courts and the tribunals that you appear before, the lawyers that you litigate against lose that trust, then you lose a lot in terms of your ability to represent yourself, the needs of your client, or the profession. So I encourage you to remember that. Take a breath, as I say, step away from the keyboard for a moment to calm and compose your thoughts and comport yourself with dignity and respect at all times. And then my final point, which I think particularly in these times that we find ourselves in the midst of a global pandemic, which has exposed the fault lines in our community along poverty lines, income lines, racial and ethnic disparities, we see the most vulnerable and the most needy in our community needing even more during these times. We see that the rule of law is more critically important now in times of crisis than ever before. That is why our court and many courts across the country have struggled to figure out ways to continue doing our important work, even while our court buildings are largely closed down to the public to protect public safety. So we can't afford to stop justice. We can't afford to close down our courts. We have to persevere. And I feel that we've done our best and we continue to do that. But I want you to think about a few things. Rule 6.1 of our District of Columbia Rules of Professional Responsibility calls on lawyers to give back and provide pro bono service, either through hours of actual pro bono service or by contributions of your income to those agencies in our community that provide pro bono service and legal services to those who need it the most. In our District of Columbia, our busy local courts, Superior Court on a busy day, pre-pandemic, tens of thousands of people literally go in and out of the trial court. Our court hears thousands of appeals each and every day. In our landlord-tenant court, for example, each and every day, nearly 95%, I repeat, 95% of tenants who face losing their homes appear before our courts without legal representation. In domestic violence cases and family cases, parties appear without counsel because, as you may know, although there's a right to counsel in criminal trials, there's not that same right in civil cases where parties face the loss of home, the loss of family, and other serious concerns. So the need is great right here in our local community, but in whatever community that you find yourself in, no matter what your practice area, find a way to give back. And mentoring in schools and local community centers showcases that lawyers are people who care about the community. With that, my final point is to remember to take care of yourselves. The law is a demanding profession. You will make mistakes. None of us are perfect. But as professionals, I would call on you to remember that when you make a mistake, own up to it, try to correct it, try to learn from it, and try to do your best not to make the same mistake again. To always be candid and not try to hide the truth when you do make a mistake. Finally, I want to say that you need your community. The worst thing that any lawyer can do is isolate yourself. You need a community of other professionals to challenge you, to help you continue to grow and keep abreast of the legal developments in our profession. And that's where our wonderful DC Bar comes into play. There are many, many training programs and opportunities to connect with people in your specialty area and to learn about other specialty areas and to participate in the bar's pro bono clinic to give back. Finally, I want to say thank you to all of your family members and friends who have supported you on your journey and who I'm sure are extremely proud of you in this moment. We are so excited to welcome you to the District of Columbia Bar. We hope to see you appear either virtually or in person before our courts. And we hope to see you contribute to the health and livelihood of our community through your pro bono service and through your professional service to your clients. Welcome. This is an exciting day, and you are a historic group of admittees because you're the very first group to be admitted by Zoom, via Zoom on this virtual platform. Thank you and good luck.
This court is now adjourned.